Breaking news in the fight against Alzheimer's. A brand new drug just did something absolutely amazing. Something no tau targeting therapy has ever achieved in a randomized clinical trial before. It physically cleared up to 65% of the toxic tau tangles in the human Alzheimer's brain. And it successfully cut memory and cognitive decline right in half. The study is called the CELIA trial, and researchers tracked these patients closely over a 76-week period. By all accounts, it's a monumental scientific victory. But there's a bizarre upside-down twist to this story. A twist that has Wall Street panicking and stock prices dropping, even though the medical data is a home run. Today, we're breaking down the incredible science of Diranersen, why less is officially more, and why the financial markets completely missed the forest for the trees. Grab your headphones, because we are diving deep into the future of saving our memories. To really appreciate this breakthrough, we have to look how Alzheimer's actually attacks the brain. And it really comes down to two main rogue proteins, amyloid and tau. Think of amyloid as the first villain to arrive at the scene. It builds up outside the brain cells, forming sticky plaques that act like a massive traffic jam, disrupting how cells talk to each other. But the real executioner inside the disease is a protein called tau. Normally, tau acts like a healthy railroad tracks inside your brain cells, helping transport vital nutrients. So that means tau is important for us. But in Alzheimer's, those tracks completely collapse, twisting into toxic knots called tangles. And they happen right inside the cells. And because this happens, cells are starved to death. If you look at the Alzheimer's drug market today, almost every approved drug on the market only focuses on clearing out that outside amyloid plaque that I mentioned before. For example, Leqembi. Most Alzheimer's drugs, like Leqembi, target amyloid plaques. This new drug that I'm talking about today, Diranersen, is a massive deal breaker because it goes directly after tau, not amyloid. That actual root cause of cell death and memory loss is what it's targeting. This is a big deal. So let's look at how Diranersen works. Diranersen does not actually remove tau directly. Instead, what it does is to prevent the brain from making any tau in the first place. This allows the body's natural cleanup mechanisms to clear away the remaining buildup. So the approach they're using is a gene silencing approach. Diranersen is an antisense oligonucleotide, or ASO, which is a short synthetic strand of RNA. And this short synthetic RNA binds directly to the messenger RNA that carries the genetic blueprint to make tau protein. Once attached, it triggers the destruction of the toxic tau mRNA strand before brain cells can read it and assemble the toxic tau protein. By stopping the continuous flood of new tau, which is kind of like turning off a tap, It gives the brain's internal immune system and the waste clearing system, like the microglia in the brain, a chance to catch up and clear away the existing toxic tau tangles. So, it works in two different ways essentially. It stops the brain from producing extra tau, and it gives the body or the brain time to catch up and remove the existing tau. This is how it works. Now, let's get to Diranersen clinical trial results. So the scientists did something smart to validate the results. Instead of just guessing with clinical assessment or results based on a fluid sample, scientists used a specialized brain scan called a tau PET scan. Think of this like a high-tech radar map that specifically lights up where toxic tau tangles are clogging up in the brain. So it just specifically finds toxic tau. So when they looked at the brains treated with the drug, the scan showed that the drug didn't just clear tau in one small area. The toxic tangles actually decreased across every single region of the brain that researchers measured. It's kind of like clearing the whole house. And this data is hard to fake. This is the ultimate proof for scientists. While a fluid marker like CSF or blood can sometimes fluctuate, seeing the physical tangles physically shrink and clear away on a live map of the brain proves that the drug is doing exactly what it was designed to do. All right, let's talk about the mind-blowing part of these new Alzheimer's trial results. The clinical trial results showed a significant 50 to 65% reduction in tau protein levels in the spinal fluid. This marks a substantial reduction of toxic buildup compared to the starting baseline. This was seen consistently across 416 patients and indicates a major biological response. In other words, this signals a potential breakthrough in Alzheimer's treatments and warrants further validation. But here's the million-dollar question. Does clearing out the brain clutter actually help person think better? The answer from this trial is a resounding yes. The researchers tracked the patient's memory, and the results consistently showed that as the toxic tau cleared out, the disease drastically slowed down. On a rigorous test, checking logic and word recall, memory decline was cut by 42%. Even better, on a standard daily test measuring basic orientation, like knowing the date or where you are, decline slowed down by an incredible 50% compared to patients who didn't get the drug. This isn't just a fluke or one lucky quiz either. Multiple completely different memory tests all agreed. Essentially, this drug cut the speed of Alzheimer's progression right in half over a year and a half, giving us the clearest proof yet that targeting tau is the future of saving our memories, specifically when it comes to Alzheimer's disease. Now, here's where the story takes a wild, almost upside-down twist. When Biogen set up this trial, they designed it under a basic medical rule of thumb. They assumed a higher dose would equal a bigger benefit. So, they tested 3 groups. A low dose of 60 milligrams injected every 6 months, A medium dose of 115 milligrams injected every 6 months, and a heavy high dose of 115 milligrams injected every 3 months. But when the final data came in, the absolute lowest dose of 60 milligrams completely blew the others out of the water. It was the 60 milligram group that won. Because of that, the trial technically missed its official main goal of showing a step-by-step dose progression. Even though the actual memory improvements and brain cleanups were a massive, massive success. It turns out that when it comes to this drug, the low dose completely fills up the brain's targets, and adding any more medicine doesn't help at all. It just overloads the cells. It's a classic case of less is more in medicine, and it completely changed how the scientists are designing the next phase of trials. But because the trial was mathematically rigid, it technically missed its main endpoint of showing a step-by-step progression, theoretically. And honestly, this highlights a massive flaw in how we judge medical science. Clinical trials need to stop obsessing over abstract dosing curves and start focusing entirely on patient improvement as the ultimate end goal. At the end of the day, helping a human being keep their memories matter infinitely more than satisfying a corporate dosing formula. Unfortunately, Wall Street doesn't think like that. The headlines broke saying the trial missed its primary goal, and investors who only read the phrase missed endpoint panicked, causing Biogen's stock to drop about 8%. They completely missed the forest for the trees. What happened was they looked at a spreadsheet and missed the fact that this trial was a historic, monumental success that proved we can physically shrink toxic Alzheimer's tangles and cut memory decline right in half. It's proof that Wall Street speaks the language of money, but science speaks the language of human lives. And if you need one more reason why Wall Street got this completely wrong, look at the safety data. Because this is a massive game changer. Current Alzheimer's drugs on the market target a different protein called amyloid, but they come with a really scary, well-known side effect called ARIA. That stands for amyloid-related imaging abnormalities, which is basically a fancy term for temporary brain swelling or microbleeding. It's such a frequent risk that patients have to get constant, expensive MRI scans just to monitor it. But with Diranersen, there were exactly 0 cases of ARIA. Not a single one. Because this drug targets tau instead of amyloid. It completely bypassed that whole danger zone. In fact, the only real side effects patients experienced weren't even from the drug itself. They were just standard temporary soreness from the spinal tap procedure, which was used to deliver it. So not only does the low dose cut memory decline in half, but it does it with a clean safety profile that completely outshines the competition. That is a massive win for the patient's peace of mind. So that wraps up today's breakdown of this latest milestone. While phase 3 clinical trial is the real test, This phase 2 result is the kind of progress that keeps us moving forward. The road to phase 3 is long. But today, science gave us a reason to be optimistic. Giving you a front row seat to these clinical trials is exactly what I plan to do. I want to bring you the clinical trials and genuine hope, changing the landscape of human health. Moving ahead on this show, I will be bringing you the latest clinical trials and breakthroughs just like this. Bringing real hope, not just for brain diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, multiple sclerosis, and Huntington's, but also for the cutting edge fight against cancer, aging, metabolic disorders, and immune diseases. See you next time.